So it's been a little bit over 2 months since I installed a digital cluster onto my E90, and since then a lot of you guys have been waiting for a follow-up video. Also, I was supposed to try to sell the clusters here in the United States, which, good news, I am going to be selling them on vehiclevirals.com. More on that in a little bit. But anyways, it's been about 2 months, so I've been able to use the cluster pretty much every single week, playing with it, using all of the features and stuff like that. So in today's video, I'm going to give it a full, honest review and hopefully help you guys decide if it's something you guys want to purchase for your BMW. This is one of those videos that I knew would get a lot of attention when I first installed the digital cluster. It was something that was kind of new in the community and very fresh, not something that a lot of people had their hands on. So I knew making a video on it and giving it some exposure would do this product very, very good. So starting this upcoming Friday, the 18th of June, I'm going to actually have a limited amount of them available on vehiclevirals.com for sale for the E90X chassis alone. I know they do offer these clusters for the E60, E70, E89. I get it. But I didn't want to put such a massive order not knowing how many units would sell. I know that E90X units are going to sell since that's like a bulk of the audience that follows me here on YouTube and Instagram. So I wanted to play it safe to see how it works, just kind of test waters. And then after that, I would put a bigger order for inventory directly through ID4 Motion. Even though I've had this cluster for over 2 months, this is just as mind-blowing as it was at day one. This has to be the biggest game-changing modification you can do to the interior of your BMW. Like, guys, I'm being real about that. This is something that gets a lot of attention. It's very functional, and it just makes the interior look extremely modern. For those of you guys that didn't watch the first video and didn't get to see the unboxing, I'll show you exactly what you get when you purchase a digital cluster, and I'll show you guys the inventory I'm going to have available for Friday. Alright guys, so here it is. This is everything you guys get when you purchase a digital cluster from me. Of course, you have the most important piece, which is the display itself, the digital cluster. It does have a built-in bracket that attaches to the inside of the dashboard where your old cluster goes. I know it's packaged a little bit weird because of the built-in bracket. Maybe that's something we can update in the future, but for now, this is how it comes. I'll open it up here in a bit so I can show you guys exactly what that looks like. Then you have this shield. So when you're installing the cluster, you use this, which is like an outline, which also comes with the cluster. You use this to cut out a portion of the ventilation tube that sits inside of the dashboard behind the screen. Once you cut that portion off, then you replace it with the shield like this or like this, and it just kind of lays over it. I don't really know the entire reasoning for doing that. Maybe it's to protect the screen from condensation, or maybe to protect the plastic tubes from heat that the display produces. I don't know what it is. It also kind of makes a little bit more room for it too. So it can be a little bit of everything. It could be because of heat, condensation, and to make more room. Either how, you have to install this. So this comes included with the package as well. You also get this interface cable, which is all you need to power the system. Guys, plug and play. One of the best things about this interior modification is how easy it is to install, and how you don't have to do any electrical work or any wiring or anything like that. So anyways, this plugs into the existing harness that's already exists within the dashboard behind the old display, and that's pretty much it for that. Then we have this screen protector. Originally, I just thought it was a screen protector. I didn't need it, so I never installed it onto the car. And then realized, maybe like a day after reading the comments on the video, that this actually serves as an anti-glare protector as well. Once you put this on, you essentially cut off all the glare that you get to the cluster itself. I kind of like the shiny look to the screen, so I didn't install this right away. I didn't mind it. On video, it looks more on video the screen looked like a lot more reflective. In person, it was actually very manageable if you put the brightness up on the display. But then I installed this, and while I didn't give it a shiny look anymore, I gave it a matte look. It was very good when it came to reflection. Like, you can't see any reflection, and the digital cluster actually looks very crisp. So I do recommend you install this onto the screen before installing it, especially if you have like a fishbowl car, no tints. This can really help with reflection. We just talked about this diagram here, the sticker that you place onto the ventilation tube, so you know exactly where to cut it. And then lastly, we have the trim that's going to replace the existing trim that's on your car that surrounds the gauge cluster itself. I'm going to go ahead and open this up and open up the screen box here and show you guys exactly what that looks like. All right, here's the trim right here. One thing that I do want to point out because I want to be really honest with you guys. There are some surface imperfections on the trim. I thought I got a bad one when I first installed my unit onto my car, but it seems like they're all like that. It seems like these were painted before sending out, and the paint finish is not the best. If that's something that's going to bother you, then once you receive it, you can always respray it or redo it yourself, or you can just kind of rock with it. Once you have it installed, you can't really see any of this imperfections, but I figured I'd let you know. This is the third one that I've seen, and it has slight imperfections in the paint job. So I want to let you guys know that. As far as how well these fit onto the car itself, we'll go over that in a bit. I'll show you guys the one that I have installed. Let's move on to the screen real quick. All right, so you have a very distinct box, but you'll open it up and here's the screen. It does come with a screen protector, and like I said, it comes with that anti-reflective layer as well, which comes with every single unit. And the bracket, just so I can give you guys a closer look, here's the bracket. You see how it's built into the frame. Maybe there's a way in the future with revisions where we can separate the bracket and maybe just kind of bolt it on with like 2 bolts or something, so it's easier to ship, and that way we don't take a chance that we mess up the bracket while shipping, because some of these shipping companies just really don't care. I want to show you guys something that's pretty cool though. Look at the label, look at the bottom, Vehicle Virals. Woo! We made it, boys. As far as connections in the back, you have USB. This is how you update the system with future updates, or if you want to load up a new skin that you purchased or any additional options, this is how you do it. Then you got the main plug here. This is where this cable goes. It goes right into that. As far as these 2 connections, I'm not entirely sure. I didn't really have anything that connects to the back of this, but maybe if you have a car that has certain options, then maybe that connects. But all I had to do was connect this and connect this if you want to make any updates to the unit itself. Right here we have a fan that keeps the system cool, and then we have a speaker right here for all the audible noises. As far as the overall quality of the unit itself, it's pretty rugged. It's built to last. Reinforcement metal plates pretty much everywhere. It doesn't look the prettiest, but I mean, to be honest, that backside you don't really get to see. The screen is the most important thing, which looks very, very sleek. Yeah, so I don't really think long-term reliability is going to be an issue. I've been using the one on my E90 extensively for over 2 months. No issues with overheating, heat management in general, anything breaking, creaking, or anything like that. This is built really, really strong. Attaching these 2 parts together is pretty simple. You have these 2 things right here that attaches to the bottom bracket that's attached to the screen. Then you got the top bracket as well with the 2 holes that attaches to the top section. You use the existing torque screws, and then you just tighten it up to the dashboard, and that's it. It's very simple. That snaps into place up top, snaps into place at the bottom like that, and there you have it. See, boom, digital cluster. Tell me that doesn't look sleek, guys. That looks absolutely amazing. Obviously the corners stick out, but who cares, because that gets tucked in behind the dash opening. But this looks very, very sleek, guys. Very cool. Also, guys, if you decide to purchase the digital clusters through vehiclevirals.com, I'll also include this extended USB cable from female to male. This will allow you to update your cluster in the future with any updates that the company may have, or if you purchase any themes or additional options, this is how you do it. Plus, it's long enough where you can route it so you don't have to remove the digital cluster every time you want to update your system. As far as pricing goes for the cluster, I know that's a very popular question I've been getting. I don't have that pricing available for you guys yet, but it will be available prior to the clusters launching on the website. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Vehicle Virals for updates, and I'll let you guys know there. The installation, like I said before, is pretty simple. You have the torque screws up top, remove that, fold the stock cluster down, unplug the connector back there, replace it with this one. Obviously there's a process and a few steps you have to follow. Just watch the first video. I'll leave a link down in the description below. You guys can follow that. It's very simple. You'll remove this as well, and this bottom section here where the knob is at. You don't really have to, but it really helps position the screen once you install the cluster, so you can kind of stick your hand in there and wiggle it around so it fits nicely. Fitment all the way around is pretty good. It looks pretty OEM-ish. Then you get to the bottom and it's, a little bit raised up here. That could have been a user error. I've seen other users that don't have this gap. The gap was bigger in the first video, but I managed to take it off and reposition it, and it's better now. I'm sure you guys can figure out solutions to make this fit flush. I just really haven't had the time to mess with it, and it really doesn't bug me when I drive because you're not really seeing that. As far as the USB cable to update the system, you can probably route it right underneath here by the steering wheel, or make it come out where it comes out like somewhere back there. so it's not really visible, but when you need to update anything, it's going to be available for you right there, and you don't have to disassemble this again. If you're ever going to mess with the digital cluster while the car's off, make sure you're charging the battery, just because it draws quite a bit of power. Also, if you have an aftermarket iDrive screen like I do, you can only imagine it's going to use a lot of power from the battery. Let me show you guys what the animation looks like when you first start it up. I do have a custom one that says, "Good afternoon, Christian." Obviously that changes based on the time of the day that you turn the car on. That is an optional thing you can do that you can get directly through ID4 Motion. As you can see, the graphics are perfectly lined up with the trim that's included, so it doesn't really get cut off unevenly on either sides. It looks very good. And it fits very, very nicely. Controlling the cluster is pretty simple. You use the controls on the left stalk. The BC button allows you to enter the menu and make selections, while the thumb control allows you to scroll up and down through the menus. Pretty simple, but not the most effective way to use the cluster. ID4 sells a remote that makes controlling the unit much easier. You see, my car has like 143,000 miles, so my stock, this is the original one, it's pretty used up. So sometimes I have to press the button a little bit harder than usual. And the thumb controls here, I have to press it pretty hard. So this can really vary from user to user. You might have a different experience, but for the most part, it gets the job done. But there are so many options to go through that sometimes it does get a little bit annoying using the stock. So maybe purchasing that remote is a good idea. But the good thing is that once you put a lot of these settings how you want to configure them, then you don't really have to use this that much, because it kind of stays saved every time you turn off and turn on the car. So you only really have to mess with this maybe like a few times until you dial it in how you want to, and then after that you kind of don't have to use this ever again. As far as animations, when you're scrolling through the menu itself, it's pretty fluid. I mean, it does the job. It's very simple. It's not flashy. You can go into settings and everything's good right there. The one gripe I have about using the stock to control it is that there's no really a back button. So you have two options. You either go all the way to the bottom of whatever menu you're on and hit the back button, which is going to take you back one menu previously, not to the home. So you would have to go back down all the way to the bottom to hit back again. Either that, or you just kind of wait, stand by, and after a little bit it'll actually default. It'll start counting down like 5 seconds. There it is, and it'll exit the menu completely. Then you can start all over and doing it again. So either you wait a couple seconds so it can back out all the way, or you go to whatever menu you're at and hit the back button or the exit button, and that's how you get out of it. A little bit finicky. It works, it gets the job done, but it can get a little bit annoying sometimes. Very common question that I got about the digital display is the latency, like the delays, the lagginess. How smooth is it while the car is actually running? It kind of depends on the theme. Like if you got this traditional looking one with the two kind of analog looking gauges, well, the needle is not as smooth as, let's say, like the digital readouts on the Sportskin. Here, let me show you guys. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and rev it a little bit so you guys can see the latency. Alright, let me go ahead and put the Sportskin on with the digital readout, and you guys will be able to see the difference. Alright, so we got the Sportskin on. Let me show you guys. You see how smooth it is and how responsive it is. I don't know if you guys can see the difference. As far as like latency, it seems like the Sportskins kind of works a little bit better than just like the analog style ones, but that's just my opinion. I think they both are very functional and they both do the job very well. This one is just slightly crispier. Alright, let's talk about the various settings and options available in the menus of the cluster. The brightness adjustment is very impressive. You can either manually control the brightness or set it to automatic. I normally keep the brightness to 60%, which is more than enough, and it's pretty insane how bright this display can get. Visibility will never be an issue, especially if you install the anti-reflection layer. The theme menus allows you to switch between day and night skins, and if you purchase additional ones from ID4, you can select them here. Buying through vehiclevirals.com includes the orange sports theme along with a regular day and night analog style skin. For gauge type, you can select what gets shown on the display, such as the engine oil temperature, coolant temperature, and the optional battery voltage. Under optional data, assuming you purchase certain add-ons, you'll be able to see features like torque and horsepower readings, more on that later, board computer, and digital readouts. In settings, you have basic information you can edit, such as the time, date, and what units you want the display to show, such as miles and kilometers, and Celsius and Fahrenheit. Select maintenance from the menu allows you to set service times and intervals. One feature I haven't preloaded yet, which was a big concern before, was the ability to check your oil level. ID4 actually came out with a free update that allows you to do that directly via the cluster itself. If you have the race skin, you can access that through the settings. Yes, it's a pretty expensive option, but man, does it look good. Race mode has its own features, settings, and customization abilities. My favorite thing about the race skin is the 4 different pieces of information you get towards the bottom of the display. I currently have the fuel level, engine oil temperature, coolant temperature, and battery voltage. The RPM towards the top can be fully customized to match the increments specific to your make and model. Alright, so now it's time to show you guys the cluster in action while I'm driving. You guys will be able to see stuff like latency, responsiveness, just like the overall quality and the fluidity of the screen. We'll start with the basic gauge theme here, and then we'll move on to the sport one, which is included with the clusters that I sell, and then I'll show you guys a little bit of the race skin, which is an additional option, but it's still really cool to show off. Like I've mentioned in the previous video, this works just like the OEM cluster. If you have any faults, coolant, low oil, anything like that, it will show up right here in a very bright fashion. If you open the door and leave it open, it's probably not going to show unless I'm driving. Let me see, hold on, I'll put it a little bit like this. Let me see if I drive off, if it pops up. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Very, very cool, very fluid. You know what really impresses me about the cluster is how bright it gets. I only have the brightness on the cluster at like 50%. And it's so bright and it's so crystal clear. You would think that the resolution on this screen is a lot higher than what it's advertised. But yeah, the guys at ID4 Motion did a really good job as far as quality and the graphics goes. There you go, you got another warning that popped up for low tire pressure, but I have aftermarket wheels without the tire pressure monitor system, so that's why that pops up. So I went ahead and activated the shifter lights, which is also an optional thing. If you look on the right hand side, that gauge on the top side, just like the newer cars like the F80s and stuff like that, you have shift indicator lights activated there. I'll show you guys exactly how that works. See how it turned green up there? Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I went ahead and activated the whole torque and horsepower readings that you can get. I think it's a bit of a gimmick, but you guys see it, right? How it's reading it. I find it really hard to believe that it's very accurate, but we'll do a quick poll here to see what it reads out. It shows 350 horsepower and 466 pound-feet of torque. I mean, it wasn't a complete pull, and I'm not on my ideal tune, but I kind of find it really hard to believe that it's actually recording the accurate power that the car is producing to the wheels. I mean, the feature sounds pretty cool on paper, but realistically, I think it's a gimmick. Alright, so I went ahead and loaded up the sports skin. Obviously, what is very appealing about the skin is the digital readouts. It's very fluid. The shift indicator lights, I still have it active, but it actually shows up right behind that car right there, like on the sides of it. You'll be able to see. Let me see if it shows it right here. There you go. You see it? Yeah, so that's where the shift indicator lights are on for this specific theme. One thing that I would love to be able to change about this theme is the car that's back there. I don't know, it kind of looks like a Tesla, like an electric car from here. Kind of wish we can customize that to a car that we want. Maybe that's something that we'll be able to do in the future with like updates. But other than that, this skin looks absolutely amazing. The orange looks very, very aggressive. And just like the fluidity of this theme is so good. See how fluid it is? It's so responsive, guys. Super responsive. And whatever you guys see on video, it looks great, right? In person, it looks 20 times better. I'm not lying about that either. All right, and lastly, we got the race skin on. The readings down there for fuel level, 51%, the coolant temperature, engine oil temperature, and the volts for the battery. The fact that you can have all four of them showing at once on the cluster, I think is so cool and very helpful. I really like that. Yes. Remember guys, on Friday I'm gonna have 20 E90X units available for sale, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna sell out pretty damn fast, so make sure and check that out. Here's the scoop guys, I worked super hard to make this thorough review for the digital cluster, a video that really doesn't exist online. I really wanted to help you guys decide if this is the right modification for you and your BMW. Just do me one favor before you guys leave the video, hit the like button and share it with somebody that might find this modification really cool. Ultimately, it will help me stock more units going forward so I can sell to you guys for every single chassis. I know the company is actually working on different cars as well, like the E46. So hit the like button. I appreciate you guys watching. For more information and updates, make sure and follow me on Instagram at vehiclerivals.com. And as always, thanks for watching. Till next time.